Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 22 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, the inventor of the Creative Feet and the Octi-Hoops, which I'll be using today. And I am really excited to actually begin quilting on top of this fabric that I inked previously. This video is not yet up on my channel on how to ink this actual design. However, it will be soon. I am in the process of editing it, and it is a long video. Hi, Tina. Hi, Rianne from North Wells. Welcome. Hi, Shirley. One of my buttons didn't work, but I wasn't pushing the right button, so I should be all right. Are you guys excited to see me work on this? I actually did not heat set this, and I'm going to use the iron to do that in a second here. I got the iron warming up. I feel rested after taking last week off. Spent some time at our local lakes and did some hiking, and I'm really pleased with taking time for my garden as well. What have you been doing with your summer? Have you guys been sewing, or have you been finding yourself going outside a little bit more? And I'm trying to just make sure I have everything the way I'm supposed to have it. There we go. All right. I think this is warm enough. Hello, Kim. Welcome from South Carolina. I know I should remember where everyone's from already that visits me every week. We got Tina from Texas, Shirley from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and Kim from South Carolina, Rianne Newton from North Wales in the UK, across the pond. So these, it's like you've got the iron down too long. Hi, Lilo. Oh, I'm so excited to have you join me today. I was thinking you were never going to come and visit on our live feed. You've been reading, Tina? It's okay. We don't always have to be sewing. Unless you're wishing you were sewing. Hi, Bob from Chicagoland. Happy anniversary. I think you just had an anniversary. I have to end at 4 today because I have an event. I'm performing in our local American Idol like singing competition in downtown Prescott. What have I gotten myself into? And I just decided to do it. My friend who does karaoke is constantly saying, you should do it, you should do it. So I went, all right, I'll do it. 52 years, congratulations. You're truly blessed. So this is on a cotton setting and pushing steam through it. I'm also doing this because I've had this folded up and it ended up in a pile, and it has wrinkles, and the only way to get puckers with the Octi-Hoop is if they're already there before you begin. So we want to make sure we always iron really well. Make sure the fabric is flat. I don't know if anyone's going to record it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But I have no time to be thinking like that. My friend Terry's going to be with me, so she'll do her best probably to do that. Things like that never come off as well on a cell phone as they do if you are in a professional setting. So I was going to sing either There Is No Arizona or I Wonder. They're two country songs because we're a country town. So I figure I should sing country. The batting that I have on here is the 6-ounce batting. That's bamboo. It is twice as thick as the one that you traditionally watch me use. And we're very soon having the inks will almost, okay, restart. We're adding the inks right now to the site, which is a tremendous amount of different colors and types. And once that is finished, then a bunch of different things are going to come up. And I don't know which one of you said, I'm not buying anything until you get that ribbon. Well, the ribbon arrived. Yay, yay, yay. Quilting today. Yes, yes, yes. Quilting on an inked piece of fabric, which would be similar to buying a panel. So if you found a panel of fabric that you just love and you don't know what to do with it, well, you can turn it into artwork, or you can have it as a centerpiece on a quilt. I've decided this is going to be art on my wall, so I'll be mounting this afterward, and I'll probably be teaching you guys how I mount it for now. And there's no way I'm going to be done with this today, so this will be part 1. And I may just finish it off camera. But part of what we're doing for the VIPs is I'm filming extended videos, and they get to watch the whole thing if we don't have time to do it on our channel. So if you haven't joined the VIP group, it's inside of Create with Clare Rowley, my school, create.clarerowley.com. This is like the first time that I wasn't muted or something went wrong, and I'm gonna show you the top now. Oops. Oh no. Oh, I should never have said. Why didn't it go to the top camera? Uh-oh. Did it turn off? I shouldn't have said nothing went wrong. Okie doke. So this is what I inked, and if you are not familiar with the inks that we offer at creativefeet.com, we have this option right now on our site, the fabric creations, and if you've been waiting for any colors, we have just about every color now that they have been offering, so go ahead and visit our site for that. And these are other inks that we're adding, the Jacquard and Lemure and the Derwent ink tints pencils, which are colored pencils that you can end up making look like ink. And I'm going to talk about these because I haven't done any project with these yet. I think I played around with them on my apron a couple weeks back. But if I had used the pencils on the fish here for some of the details, I would have been able to get a more detailed looking project, which you'll see when the video for this goes live. And it shouldn't be too much longer. I jinxed myself. Yes, I did. So we have a new camera on the top, which is partly why I was messed up, because top used to be close and close used to be top, and I was thinking it wasn't on because I can't see it in the little viewfinder it's sitting up there. And now this camera should be a lot better at focusing. And we're going to be using the Octi-Hoops and the Super Universal needle, and I'm going to experiment with different types of threads, so we're not going to just use one. If the label on the top falls off, right on the inside of your spool. So I have IF, which tells me it's Invisifil, and it's number 9118 should I run out. And this is the PolyFast. That is a 40 weight, and this is 100 weight. So I can use two different yellows for different purposes and have a different appearance on the fish. So when I'm working with these fish right here, and if I want it to show up more, I could use this. Or if I want it to be more light, I'd use the Invisifill. I have to think about where I'm going to start. Because we have these fine little details, like the ripples of water, that I do want to show up above what's below. So if and I don't want to cover up all of the art. That's a definite temptation that you'll have. I found that I was like wanting to color when I was quilting instead of just quilting, which quilting is more like tracing around a design. Apparently we're getting a shipment right now. Sorry if you can hear the barking. Let's see. And I was thinking about adding maybe some metallic on this to add just a little glistening here and there. Let's see. What to use in the bobbin? It doesn't matter because I'm not going to back it until I am done with the actual project. And at that point, I may not even back it. I may just mount it onto the board that I'm going to mount it on. But it's just so handy to use one of the Deco Bob bobbins. Uh-oh, that was supposed to be the other one. So close. Uh-oh. One of my cameras is not on there right. That was weird. I guess it's just the buttons that's not working. Oh well. So this is the Deco Bob. And believe it or not, I've used this like on a couple projects, and you can barely tell that any of the bobbin thread is off of there. This is the Deco Bob and his 80 weight. And I have found that this works with every type of thread that I have tried it on. And this is a good blending color. It'll blend nicely with all of the different colors on my fabric. Leela, you want some of that ribbon? I figured you'd want that ribbon. It's super exciting. If you guys are wondering what the ribbon is, I can show you. Put this in. This is what live's all about, getting me to do things. But remember, cutoff time is 4 o'clock. So that I can not be super stressed out. This is the ribbon that they're talking about. And the lesson, because this was several different parts to this video. I believe this was during the applique part. So this would have been part 1 of the Dresden plate applique. And this is it looks like a regular ribbon, and then you stitch through it and it spreads out, and then it looks like someone hand crocheted. I absolutely love it. And I haven't even gotten into the box yet. The box arrived and I haven't opened it. I still have to do the unboxing of our sewing machine that we're carrying at Creative Feet as well, which if I keep hiding it with this, I may never remember to do it. All right. Oh my. I got a little bit of nerves going on. But I was like, if I could go on the Home Shopping Network and be in front of 80 to 90 million people at once, I can certainly stand on a stage in my town. And I do love karaoke. Do any of you do karaoke? Thumbs up if you do. I think I should do metallic on the ripples. Do I have like a white metallic? I need some white metallic. All right, the bobbin is loaded. The needle in here has a burr on the tip. I can feel it because I dragged my finger down the top of it. So weird the button works this time. I have no idea what's going on. So the way that I end up damaging the tips of my needles is by lifting the fabric as I pull it out from underneath the needle. This is the 100 weight Invisifil thread in a blue color. But I need to evaluate. That's not working. All right, so I have to use my mouse. That's all right, I can adapt. Thought I fixed that. Okay. We're going to use 2 frames at once when doing free motion. And the 2 that I use are the medium and the small. And you could use the large on the bottom and the medium on top. And some people use the large on the bottom and the small on top. I've had customers say that they go like this and move it around inside of that larger frame. For me, I think that would overwhelm me, and it would really only work if you have a large surface from, see, my machine is raised from the table, so it would not be good for me. But really the one that goes on top should be determined by the size of your hand. Whichever one is closest to the size of your hand is the best one for putting on top, because you're going to put your hand down and grab this little handle and you're going to write with your fingers. So as I go around these rocks, just as I did with the paintbrush, so as I went around, oh, that's a stick. Pretend it's a paintbrush. So as I go around, I was drawing like that with a paintbrush. It's the same motion that we're going to do, except for the hoop will be on top and it will move the fabric. So you, in essence, instead of moving the pin, you're moving the fabric, but you're holding what feels like a pin. So your brain takes to it. Well, if you open it, how many of you have opened your Octi-Hoops and used them? If you have, do a thumbs up. I'm going to set this one aside. I also like to have a pad on my table for resting my elbow on. I'm going to go ahead and use my ironing surface because it is a pad. And what color am I going to start with? Kind of like when you draw, you should look down and the furthest away is what you want to start with. And I don't want to do it all. This is very challenging, you guys. So I think I'm going to do the water or the floor, the ocean floor, and going lighter in the color is better if you're new to quilting because it won't stand out as much as going darker. See if I can figure out how to switch to this camera quicker or better without flipping back and forth. So you can see I'm going to place it here, and it's a really, really light green, and I have our blue green, and I have the same kind of tone in a 40 weight as well. Should I want to have some areas stand up or stand out more? This is, the challenge of doing the art itself is art, and then now doing the thread stitching is also art, another type. So taking this up. Different camera, so the lighting may need to be adjusted here. If you're one of the VIPs, don't forget, every third Saturday of the month, we go live for Whatever You Want Claire to Sew Saturday. If you've got a lot of white or metallic ink on your fabric, you might opt to use a free motion foot. And if you do, I recommend one like this where it's open in the front. That wasn't very attractive, was it? There we go. I'm going to try it first because you can see better without a foot. And as you can see, I don't have a presser foot on my machine. And you can lower your feed dogs, which I generally do, but I forget usually until halfway through. I got 2 places to read the chat, so there we go. All right, so I'm going to try not to lose track of you guys while having fun doing this, because this is super fun and so relaxing. So as I mentioned, we're going to bring 2 frames together with, I didn't mention that yet, but you're going to bring 2 frames together. And even though you get 2 handles in your Octi-Hoop kit, we're going to use only 1 for quilting. As we bring the frames together with your non-dominant hand, and then you rest your hand on the larger of the 2 frames, but you won't be able to see this. It'll be underneath the quilt. So your hand rests on that, and then your hand or arm rests on your machine. So this is what I do when I'm quilting, is I'm always making sure that this arm is resting, but on the machine, not on the quilt. Because if it's on the quilt, you'll try to move the quilt and it won't move because, well, you'll be stopping it from moving. So now take and slide that frame beneath. And this one goes on top. And this is for the ocean floor, so the light aqua area. Oh my gosh, this is pressure. Usually I do this kind of art all by myself. I think I'm going to keep it in the light area because what did I have up there? All right. I dropped something. Oh, was that? I have no idea what fell off my machine. I didn't think I had anything on it. I have had quite a week of dropping things, you guys. Oh my goodness. I think it's a sign I need to organize. So where you place the handle is entirely up to you. But the most important part is that your elbows are down. There we go. I really need to just put all this stuff away. And wear your glasses. Especially after you put in, this is, I believe, 12 hours of inking I did to create this design. And I did take some photography of it so that we could create a panel for you guys. Should you guys want to quilt on it, if you're not brave enough to ink it or not ready to ink something like this, but you want to quilt it. And I'll let you know when that is available. And don't hesitate to bug me for things, because sometimes I need a little bugging. Here we go. Oh, you can see so much better with your glasses on, in case you didn't know that. Yeah, I'm going over here. So I'm thinking maybe like a wavy line. I don't know. I know this. If your threads aren't too thick, the quilting won't deter from the art. And I like the art, so. And I would think that where the ripple is, that you wouldn't be able to see the ground as easily. So I'm going to go ahead now and lower the needle. Bring up the bobbin thread. Make sure that you Lower the presser foot bar before you begin. If you're not sure if you have or not, by just pulling on the thread just slightly, you should see the needle slightly deflect or move, and then you know you got tension on the thread. All right, this is when I usually ask my angels to help me not mess it up, or ask them to help me do a good job instead of not messing it up. Looks like we got good light. So I probably could have used an 80-12 instead of the 90-14. And the reason for doing that, and I'm going to leave, I don't have to worry about this because it's going to be on a wall. I'll explain that a little better. Don't really have to tie knots because we're not going to sit on this. So the fabric's never going to be stretched, and that would then make those unsecured stitches pop out or come undone. Oh, this microphone is so in my way. I don't want to go near the bubbles either. I'm going to go around the bubble. Come out. And if you talk to yourself beforehand and say, you know, I really want my stitches to be this length, or you'll have a better opportunity to do a better job at making that actually be the same stitch length throughout the entire process. Decisions. What do you think? Think I should just, because it's lighter thread, I'm going to reduce my thread tension, and that helps offset the fact I used a bigger needle than I needed to. So the 100-weight thread, I'm going to be using all 3 of the threads that we offer for this to create the different levels. Now I can go around it. So the beauty of the artwork we don't want to take away by over threading. To keep it more exciting for you guys, I'll probably just do a little section here and get one fish done. Would you like that? You guys are not chatting. Chat, you guys. It helps the algorithm. It helps us get better positioning on YouTube. We appreciate it. I think I'm going to continue around this fish, and no, I'm not. See how I make decisions on the fly? You're still there, good. Thank you, Tina. I think I made a good choice doing that wavy look. It's all about trying not to tie knots or having to stop and move around. I'm going to come back here a little bit. And the less I thread my needle, the better it is for all of us, because it doesn't take as long. You want me to do a fish? I like how Tina's not afraid to ask for what she wants. I'm going to go around these rocks. See how I just scoot? And I'm going around the rocks now so this won't look out of place. heading toward the fish. And I think I'm going to look around and see if I have a light color metallic. I like that idea, Lilo, of making the ripples metallic. Because they would glisten with the water or the sunlight. See, I was hyperextending my wrist like this to hold that handle, and that's silly because all you do is from underneath just move the bottom frame over and then move the top frame over and then move your hand so you don't have to contort yourself. All right, I will do a fish. I had a feeling you'd all agree on that. And because I used a lot of white, I may have to use a foot. Because the metallic threads, or not the metallic thread, but the metallic ink and the white ink are a little sticky. See how it's lifting the fabric and it wasn't before? And with that occurrence, what will happen is you'll get loop stitches and you're more likely to get skip stitches and break thread. Since this thread is so slight, it wouldn't be that noticeable, but you'd probably notice when you got up on your work and feel bad about how it looks. So I'm raising the foot and I'm going to put the foot on. That's the other thing I like about this style foot is you can put it on and take it off without having to take the hoop off or without having to cut your thread. So this is what you'd call an open toe foot, and you never want to just start sewing without tightening that screw. I have to find my screwdriver. Whoops. Sorry for the noise. I'm counting on you guys to make it not let me go past 4. So it feels really weird because I can't see through the foot. And you might feel the same way. So you kind of have to look here instead of here and be preparing for the movement that's about to occur so that you're not surprised by it. Another option is to turn the hoop and go in a sideways motion instead of trying to go backwards with it. So right now I'm just anchoring the fish with the stitch going all the way around it, which anchors it to the batting. So there's a reason for it. It's a lot noisier with a foot. I definitely feel weird when I use a foot. It's interesting because I'm holding my hand differently. I noticed this hand differently because there's a foot on. So usually I'm here, but in this case I feel like I need to hold on more, I think. It's interesting to see what we do automatically without really being aware of it. Of course I picked the biggest fish because Claire's always thinking she can get more done in these live sessions. Oh, I can't believe I just talked about myself in the third person. See, I can't see his little whiskers, so go around. I should have done one of those little guys on the bottom. I really like how that kind of outlines the fish. Once again, I'm going backwards, which with a foot is harder. Be better off to just spin the quilt around. Since it's a small quilt, it's not that big a deal. Of course, if this was a king size quilt, we'd have to figure out how to accept having that foot in your way. Just know, Anne, that it took me a little while, even though I invented it, to get the hang of this. So I think I'm going to take this as it's kind of like a shadow of the fish's fin, because it is a little bit of a blue-green. It's easy if there's no foot. I have to say, it's easy with the foot. It's easy with the foot. I can do this. Come back up over where I already was, and then over. Come back down, and then I'm going to go back over my stitch. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I don't end up with more lines than what I inked there. This is why I like to use a speed control, because I actually, my foot control all of a sudden went faster, and it took me by surprise. Now if I'm working with a quilt that's larger, how I handle the quilt rather than bunching it up like this is I have it rolled, and I use my quiltlets, which are safety pins and elastic straps, and I strap it. And then I wear the quilt, so it becomes attached to me. But this is small enough to where I don't need to do that. I really think I should just go get an 80-12 needle on. Although part of the needle holes makes things look cool when you are inking. And you're seeing the holes more because the ink is sticky. So after, you could do this and it would make it not show up as much. It probably looks really big to me because I'm wearing magnifying glasses. Well, don't give up on the Octi-Hoops, because what you see me do, you can do. It's just, you have to want it bad enough, just like when you learned how to drive a car. So now I'm going to do this and kind of give the implication of scales. So the scales would be not lined up with each other. They'd be alternating. Kind of like a lot of people call it the seashell pattern. That one I accidentally did, so. I really wish I didn't need the foot. It's okay. Can't be perfect all the time. And I'm only going to use this color on the white areas for this. And I'm going to switch to orange for the rest of the fish. And when I do, I'm changing my needle. Here we go. Cut this red. I don't need to do that. I just raise the foot. Pull out some of this. Now, hopefully I have the 80-12 super universals in here. Another reason I like them is they tend not to stick to things. So this one's just too big. I hope this isn't too noisy for you. And if I don't find the super, I'm just going to use a regular universal. Another option would be a top stitch needle. So I guess I'm just going to use this. Do I look older when I wear my glasses like this? I don't know how well you can tell with the close-up camera on how big the holes are, but for me they're way too big for my liking. And I always start taking out from my needles from the left and move to the right. So whenever I've used a needle and I put it back in, I always put it on the left, and then I know that one's partially used. This was barely used though, so it's good for another project. When in doubt, throw it out. However, a needle should work for up to 10 to 13 hours of non-stop sewing, in case you're wondering how long a needle lasts. And where the needle wears out first is generally the eye of the needle. I can use my needle threader because this is an 80-12 needle with 100 weight thread. It didn't take it. Why didn't you go in? I must have brought my needle down by hand. Go. All right, so my needle threader is not working. Why aren't you working? One more try. Nope. Oh no, I have to thread the needle. Let's see how I do. Definitely need my glasses on for this. Makes me think that may be smaller than an 80-12. I held my breath while I did it. Yay. Well, you guys are sure quiet this week. Sorry, you guys, I had to cough there for a second. Get this micro out of my face. So in case you're wondering when to use a smaller needle or why, well, that coughing better stop before I have to go. It's a very windy day here in Prescott. So see how nicely the stitching complements the inking. And when I was inking, I was thinking about what I could do to allow me to stitch somewhere, because if I made these scales too detailed, and you can see there is the implication of scales on the fish, but the stitching really just takes it to the next level. I really want to bring in the other color. Go around the eyeballs. I always go around twice on circles, and I can hop over and go over to the dark part of the eye. Okay. Oh, okay, I missed some. Now this is a matter of preference. You could just do all one color. You could use clear, invisible thread that we carry at Creative Feet and go all the way around everything with just invisible thread and not have the risk of changing any of your panel and how it looks. Now if you're going to do something like that, know this, clear would show up on the darks. So you'd use clear and smoke of the invisible threads if you're going to do that. Can you see the difference between the stitching? If not, what I'll do is after I'm done with the fish, I'll let you see. If you want your stitches to show up more, you run the machine slower and move your hands faster. Okay, and I'm gonna, because I did outline with this, I can go back over my outline. And I definitely do this, just so you know. I try everything I can to not have to stop and tie a knot as I go around something. Most people will not notice as much as you will. What time is it? 3. Got an hour more. I can't do the scales that way. I have to do it this direction. So I'm trying to not go into the same V because scales would overlap kind of like sequins on a blouse. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do with that color thread. Nope, I got one more fin over here. Can I not tie a knot? I made it to the pin. Oh, I'm sorry for having to clear my voice, you guys. Now, if I were not trying to beat the clock and do one complete fish, I would actually do all of this color on all of the fish in the white areas. Now I have to find some orange thread for this. I had yellow ready for the yellow fish. And I definitely think that the Invisifill is going to be the best option for actually doing this. And we do offer the Invisifill in small spools in addition to the tall spools. I don't see an Invisifill in the room that's on a tall spool. I have like a peach color though. And I'm debating, would peach complement the orange and allow the orange to stand out more? Or what if I went even like fluorescent orange? Now then I'm really making the thread be what you see. So it's really all up to you. I think I'm going to go for the orange. And since it's a small spool, I'm going to put it on one of the tall vertical posts of my thread dispenser instead of on the on the posts for the cones that we have on this. If you don't have a thread dispenser, this is what I use always for feeding my thread. Always want to make sure that the tension is off of the thread when you go to remove it. And how you do that is make sure the foot is raised. And since we're not using a foot for a lot of this, and even when you are using a free motion foot, sometimes it seems like it's down. So you might not be cognizant that you need to raise the foot in order to open the tension just to allow the thread to go in between those discs. And this is what causes a periodic looping on the bottom of your fabric, because you think your thread is threaded, but it really isn't. And when the take-up lever, the little arm on the machine that goes up and down in the front of your machine, it pulls the thread down into the bottom of your machine, and it just kind of makes it look like baggy underwear under there. Or a bird's nest is what a lot of people like to call it. I got to make sure this thread's not going to have a bobbin take a ride with it. And I can also put it on my machine. And if you do, you want to make sure the thread cap that you use is just a little bit bigger than the spool. Not so much bigger. This would be too big for that spool. And since I have no idea where my other one is, I'm going to put it on my thread dispenser. It adds to the tension as the thread is spinning on the post. There, let's remove some bobbins. I may have practiced singing too much. I'm going to try something here as well. I have an empty bobbin, and I'm going to place the spool on top of the empty bobbin to give it less drag on that when I pull it through. And I'm determining that based on pulling on this. I can tell that that would be a dramatic increase in the tension on the thread. Oh, I have to thread it by hand. I can do this. I can thread by hand. Do any of you have any questions before I start sewing again? Why isn't that trans? There you go. I guess I'm not pushing the buttons hard enough. Okay, I'm back. I drank some water. Threading the needle. I can't wait to get those needle threaders in stock that are easy to help you thread needles on your machine. It's a good time for me to check, cut any tails that I have. And it's always a good idea to bring the thread underneath the foot. I'll start there. I'm going to go down here. I definitely do better when I come from this direction. Yeah, I need to, tension is still 3. If you start seeing your bobbin thread come up to the top, then that's what tells you to lower your thread tension on the top. But you can also change to a lighter thread and have Like for all your light colors, have a white bobbin thread instead of the green that I chose. Cut your threads more often so you're not distracted by it like I was just now. Elbows are down, you guys. Shoulders relaxed. It's a very relaxed hand. It's not hard pushing down like you do with traditional quilting methods. Definitely not as much fun with the foot on, but the inking is so much fun that I don't mind having to deal with the foot right now. Should I try it without the foot since I changed to the smaller needle? I think I will. Let's just see how that works. I'll be okay. What's going on is I have asthma and I'm looking for my inhaler because I have it in here. We have a really windy day and that causes me to have a little bit more issues. I usually have one in here so that I don't have to step away. I might have borrowed it. Okay, so now see how it's lifting? And that's the ink that's doing that. So what's worse? That's how I determine it. Is it worse to have to look through the foot, or is it worse for the lifting of the fabric? Now, how do I make it not lift as much? I make sure that where I'm stitching is closer to the inside edge of the hoop rather than stitching. In other words, if I were to move the hoop like this, well, I could see the whole fish and it's tempting to do that. However, now this is the area that is most likely to lift up with the needle, because the closer you are to the frame, well, the closer it behaves like a foot. So I'll show you. See how it's lifting? And it's fine if it lifts and you can still see, but if it lifts and you can't see, well, that's not good for you at all. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. I gotta find my way back down. Or I can spin him around this way. It has to do with my brain and in what direction I want to sew those scales. I did not like sewing the scales that direction. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Okay, the scales are going this way. Have a little conversation with yourself. So what do you guys feel like? Is this harder for you to watch than with the foot? And just so you know, with the foot, it was also lifting, but the foot was holding it down. Maybe I need a little more light. Also, it's just, you can't really see this thread because it's the exact color of that ink right there. It's going to start showing up here in a minute. I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to come down here and go the other way. So come back a little and come over. Definitely can see better, and if you sew slower, you're going to get more accuracy if you sew slower, as well as being able to see better. I don't know on your devices, if you're watching on something small, if you can see the detail and how much this is really enhancing this fish. I'm getting all relaxed. It's so relaxing for me to do this. So it's quieter without the foot. If I were not dealing with a microphone and another light in front of me, I would be leaning more toward the sewing machine as well, being able to see a little bit better. Okay, so that area is done. It's not really taking that long. I'm going to get over, try to keep that batting from getting in your way so you guys can see. My elbow pad moved. But you see how when it's in the middle, it definitely lifts more, so you bring it closer. And now it's doable. Now the risk you have is also to break a needle if you have the fabric lifting to that extent. So I'm done fighting with it. I know, and I knew, that the white ink that I placed all underneath this entire fish was going to make the fish something that I had to do with a foot. Always tighten that foot down. Another thing to tighten is your needle, because these feet have a bar that rests on top of your needle bar and it bangs on it, and it can unscrew your needle while you're in the middle of free motion quilting. Has that happened to any of you? If it has, do a thumbs up. There we go. It felt good just not to talk for a second. This is not something I do very often. I'm usually talking. Even when I'm alone, the dogs and I have lots of conversations. There we go. Do you guys talk to your dogs? I even talk to my flowers and my plants and butterflies and the birds outside. Definitely have issues drawing the scales that direction. When I talk to the plants, the dogs look at me funny, like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? So now I'm going to skip over, and this is a cheat to not cut the thread. However, what this does is the same amount of bobbin thread is beneath there now, stretched out, as there is needle thread. And if I were going to be continuing to quilt, I would definitely have not done that. I would have cut my thread and started again. Come on, I can do this way. I can do this way, come on. Maybe not. Here I go. So funny. So not all my stitching is going to be as acceptable to me. If the hoop stops moving, stop and readjust. You can get stuck on the sides of your sewing machine for a moment, but you're never really stuck because the hoop is not attached to anything. Running the machine slower when you're doing little detail areas is better. There isn't much left. I think what I'll do is pick it up so you guys can see better. And cut that bobbin thread so I don't get it stuck on anything. I could do the flower. That'd be fun. What time is it? 3. See how that makes those scales really show up? If I can, maybe the other camera. I don't know. We will see if you can see better on this one. I don't think so. It's just one of those things. So you can probably see that this area here looks definitely heavier, and that's where I had the bigger needle, not thicker thread. So just that bigger needle created that look that's not as desirable. You want me to do more? I could do the flower. Because there's nothing below the flower. I mean, the flower's on top of everything, so I won't have to think as much. I could also do a lily pad. But I really want to do the bubbles. If I had, ooh, I have like a light gold. I know I have some white metallic or light color metallic somewhere. I'm gonna just have to dig it out. So thumbs up if you want me to do a lily pad or maybe some rocks. I got a whole hour. I've never felt like done before an hour into the show. So I showed you how I did the bottom, and I really like how it looks. I don't know if you can see it. See how that wavy look looks on there? I think I can see where the machine is, where the lights. When you have shadow, it helps you to see the quilting. But see how slight it is. That's why it still looks like the original project. But catch the light just right, and then you can see the quilting. So nobody's going to really notice if your stitches are not all the same. But the less you think about your stitches being all the same, the more your stitches will be the same. Once you stop thinking so much. It's kind of a bummer that I used the bigger needle, but oh well. It's all about teaching you guys. See that? Scales. I think I'll do the flower because I feel like it. I have yellow. So this is the 40 weight. And this is the 100 weight. And because these are really, really small little objects, I'm going to use the Invisifill. It would be a good time to use both, actually. To do like the straight lines with the thinner one, and then to go in with this on the top. So we'll see how I feel. So just so you know, it was a good fix on making a more consistent tension was to place this on top of an empty bobbin. So it was more like the material that, plastic on plastic instead of against the wood. But I've done this many times with different things, placing an empty bobbin beneath to allow threads, when they're forced to be pulled, like on your older machines, it makes it slide easier. Okay. I feel so relaxed. That's good, considering what I'm about to do today. When I thread the machine, I generally hold on to the other end of the thread, so that as I'm threading it through, it has tension holding it up above as I go through, and you're less likely to miss thread guides that way. Keep hoping the needle threader is going to work. It's just not. And this is an 80-12. It sure seems like it should work. It's just not enough room, I guess, for the thread and the threader. Hey, these glasses did me good that time. I was like, wow, I threaded that just right. Got the mic in my way. Every time I move to do something, I have to rearrange the lights so you guys have the best experience possible. See, I'd be like, okay, now I should do the little yellow fish, because to speed things up is to change your thread less often. Did I grab the right one? It feels thicker. It doesn't feel like Invisifill. That feels too thick. I'm sure that's not. That must be Deco Bob. Or is it PolyFast? Oh, that looks like the same thread. All right, so that is not Invisifill. I wrote the wrong thing on the bottom of that spool when the cap fell off. Well, we'll see how it goes with a thicker thread, and I'm sure you guys are wanting to see a thicker thread anyway. So, this is me thinking. I get quiet when I have to think. So these little white dots are the tops of those. Are those called stamen? I can't remember. Notice the machine speed is dropped way down, and that's because it's such small detail. Definitely easier for the sewing machine to work with a thinner thread when doing smaller objects as well. So sticking with the thicker just because it was on the machine, and my elbow pad wasn't under my elbow and I was starting to hurt. And these are things that make you not sew as well. You don't realize you're uncomfortable because your brain's going, woohoo, we're having fun, I'm enjoying this. And all of a sudden your elbow's going, I'm not enjoying this. generally when you do free motion, your elbows are not down, they're up. I think I'm going to hop over to this lily pad, but notice I raise the foot when I do it. And I'm going to do just a little bit. I think I'll just see, this is when I shouldn't have the foot on because I can see better. And I don't think this is sticky. I feel so much better with no foot on. It's kind of like taking your shoes off when you get home. It feels so good to take your shoes off. This is a big thread, so I'm just going to kind of follow around this hint of yellowish green and tie a knot. Place the foot, hop over here, do the same thing. And here what I'm doing is actually outlining the blendedness of that color ink. And I'm not doing it exactly. So because I blended it so blended that I can't see where it is, but it kind of accentuates the look of that. And I'm going to try see if my scissors things works, because this is why you have a scissor, so you can hop around without having to raise the foot, and the machine should hold the thread and allow you to just start sewing. So that is true of machines that do a machine embroidery and not. Now this is not an embroidery machine. It does not have the functionality at all. However, when brother, who makes Baby Lock, made this machine, they thought, well, that's a great feature, and it's the same body of machine, so they left that feature on for us, and I appreciate it very much. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. Hop over here where I have more yellow. By the way, I did not secure the fabric in any way. All I did was lay it on top of the batting. For those of you who are not familiar with the bamboo batting. Whoa! All right, so I'm going to tell you why that needle broke. The machine was running really slow and I moved my hand really fast, and that's what happened. Another time that will happen is if you have your sewing machine set to stop down. If you have your machine set and it always stops in the down position, what will happen is as you start to release, there's some batting flying in the air. So when your presser foot is set to stop in the lowered or down position, and you start to remove your human foot off your foot pedal, the machine drops into a lower gear and immediately slows down. And so that is when you're more likely to break a needle than any other time. But that time it was just me. I don't break needles very often. It's very astonishing. I mean, it startles me. And it may have something to do with the ink, because I did come up to the white. Now I have a tip of my needle, because the way needles are engineered to break is that the thread is in the eye still after the needle is broken. That gives you the opportunity to grab hold of the tip of that needle and dispose of it in a safe manner. And I have a bag that I put things like this in down here. A broken needle. How many is that for the season? I think Tina's keeping track. Or is it Amy? Amy's not here today. She was in the school today. So now that we have the right camera set up and the right camera for the above shot, and my son is going to approve whether or not I can do this, then we'll open the Creative Feed extensive. Should I use a 9014 for that? No, I'm not embroidering. You guys are so quiet. I'm trying to find my needles and they're right here. Oh my. Do you know what I did? I thought it was an 80-12. This is because I should have worn my glasses when I looked at it. This is a 68. So that's why it broke. And there was no way you're going to thread a needle with an 8 needle. Okay, so it's time to go back to the eye doctor, I think, and get new glasses. I was just trying not to have to get this out. Oh, I cannot believe I did that. An 8 needle is used for fine sewing like chiffons and silks, really, really thin material. This is definitely an 80-12. It's actually impressive that it was able to sew. I'll just set these aside instead of putting them away. I thought it looked kind of small. There I go again, making mistakes for you guys. You're really late, better than never. Hi, Donna. Which Donna are you? I have 3 Donnas. And almost all of you don't put your last name, so you can just put your first letter of your last name if you don't want to put your whole name up. Welcome. Claire just broke a needle. I think that's the 4th needle for 2021 that I broke live with you guys. Still won't thread the needle, which means I must have bent it. I don't need any more yellow. I'm going to switch now to my next color thread. All right. Now what? It's so much fun. It's like coloring book. Except for the coloring is almost done, and all you're doing is doing the outlining and the enhancement. I was going to do the flower. What time are we at? 3:26. I'm cutting my bobbin thread tails that I've created on the bottom because they can get caught on the separation between the machine where you have little parts that open up on your machine. So it's a good idea to periodically check for that. And you can see how I have a fish, or it looks like a fish. And you can see how cool that could be if you quilted upside down, which is something that I like to do from time to time. And you can see this is the stitch that I used for the ocean floor, just a wavy design. And all of that right there was done with that 9 or 8 needle. Oh my goodness. No more tails. We're good to go. Okay, I think that it needs purple for the shadows, like a lavender. If you're not familiar with the Invisifil thread, it comes in little boxes. which is handy. If I can find one. I usually have a sample of our products here. This is the thread that's in the bobbin, and the deco bobs come in packs like that, so I really thought that the green was a good option, but I was doing all these light colors. So I'm switching my bobbin too, because I don't want to have green popping up in that pink. And then this lid, you just pull the lid up. And I can choose a pink. Put green in there. This reminds me of a game that I used to play as a child. We used to put things into something like that. Oh, that's gonna bug me now. Funny how I never thought of it before this moment. You see how loaded the bobbin is? We can't do that on our machines, load bobbins that full. So, where's the end? There's the end. Uh-oh. I was bad, and now I'm regretting it. Oh boy. I haven't had this happen before with one of their bobbins. That was me being over anxious and not grabbing the end. So there we go. So much for them giving me that extra bobbin thread. Oh my. Hold the fish up toward the light. 1 second, I will. Oh, Tinkerbell just sneezed. That's so cute. Really big sneeze. She hasn't been sitting on her chair that much anymore. I made her a little condominium on the floor, and she's taken to it. This is how you can ruin a needle, so. How's that? Is that good lighting? So that's 2 colors of thread so far on the fish. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I will be printing this panel so that you guys can quilt this. You'll have this video to watch to do it. Lilo, I can get you any color bobbin in the L's. We just started out with just the class 15s, which I can't remember what they call them, an A or... So we will add them, and if you want to be the first one to make me order them, that would be good. So we work well together. Just give me an email, and you can tell me the colors that inside of the site that you like, and I can order those for you, and then we'll add them, and gradually we will have the L's in all of the colors. But you can get this master pack for sure, and the basic set in the L's. Talk to me tomorrow about it, because today I'm leaving right after the show. It is 3:32 or 3:22. Okay, so I'm changing to the purple thread. And I'm going to do the shadows first, as always, working from the back to the front in this particular instance. Because what did we do? And I did everything backwards, and it was bugging you guys. What was that? So once again, I'm placing this spool on top of an empty bobbin so it spins easier. And now I'm actually using an 80-12 needle instead of an 8. You know what is amazing is that I actually threaded that 8 needle with 40 weight thread, and I did it in one try. And I'm not bragging, I'm just amazed that I was able to do it. And you can see now the comparison and why I knew I did not have Invisifil on, because this is how much thinner the Invisifil thread is, which is 70% thinner than the 40 weight thread, which means you can hold 70% more thread on a bobbin. So if you don't want to have to change your bobbins often, Invisifil is an awesome thread in a bobbin. Now some people, their sewing machines can't see the Invisifil thread because it's just so thin. So the safest thread for the bobbin is the Deco Bob, which is 80 weight, which is 20% thicker than the Invisifil. All right, I have my lavender thread on top, or more like a mauve thread on top, and placing the medium-sized frame beneath and the small frame on top. And for all of you that are lurking and not in the chat, welcome to my channel. Be sure to subscribe if you want to be a part of our live Thursday show every Thursday, except for last Thursday because I took a little mini vacation. And the products that you're seeing me use are found at creativefeet.com. And I will have, or do have, all the links in the description. So after the live ends, all of those links will be visible. If you're not looking at the live chat anyway, then what you can do is you can go into the description now and you can see where to find all of these different threads that I'm mentioning, the needles that I'm mentioning. And the right, or the correct needle, would be the super universal needle for quilting, and the size for this would be 80-12. And that's because we have a ink on here that adds a stickiness to the surface of the fabric, and a larger needle's hole will not close back up afterward. You're more vulnerable to breaking thread and needles when you work with smaller threads or smaller needles on quilts, but you can do it. Just gotta want it bad enough, like anything else. How much time did it take you to learn how to drive a car? You wanted to drive that car so bad that you took the time and you tortured your family by having them teach you how. Think of this as driving. You're kind of driving your hoops. There's nobody on the road with you, so you don't have to worry about someone crashing into you. Elbows are down and resting instead of elbows up and pushing down like other hoop systems. Your hands are allowed to be more relaxed. I'm barely holding on to this, and I'm really just bringing the top frame's corner to the corner of the smaller frame, or the other way around. I'm bringing the smaller corner into the inside of the larger hoop that's beneath it. And you can see that it drops inside of it. And then I scoot it around as I progress across the surface. You can use a presser foot or not use a presser foot. In this area, I would just be super frustrated using a foot. So despite the fact that it lifts because of the ink being so sticky, and it's only the white ink, and only because I did a lot of layers of white on here as well, because sometimes I I don't have that sticky feeling at all. That sounds funny. And here we go. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Don't look at the needle. And if you do look at the needle, you're going to get kind of woozy with it moving this much. When you're watching someone, you don't really know where they're going to go, so you tend to have to look at the needle. But I'm looking at the next petal. I'm usually not looking here. I'm looking way over here, and I'm always like looking about a ½ inch away from the actual needle. So I don't see the lifting as much. And you won't either if you look like I'm saying I'm looking. If you look a ½ inch away, you'll notice the fabric doesn't seem to move as much. I'm going to go up and come back down. And this is what you call thread play on a quilt. Going up, and now we're doing kind of embroidery, but not really embroidery. Because we don't want to start covering up all the ink colors. We're just enhancing the design, not doing embroidery on it. If you want to embroider, you can embroider with the Octi-Hoops as well. But you would embroider first. Is that camera like not in focus? Or is my glasses again? I have these magnifying glasses on and I look at a screen a distance away and it always looks blurry and I think the camera's out of focus, but it's just me. See how it's lifting a lot? Because the flower is centered in the hoop. So if I slide the two frames closer, then it holds it down better. And sometimes, because I'm not afraid, because I've been doing free motions since I was 16, I will take my finger and bring it in here and help hold it down if an area starts to lift too much. But I don't suggest that when you're learning. You might just find yourself doing it. We got 20 minutes and then I will end the live for today. And before I'll definitely give you a really good close-up of this. If you have any questions, this will be a good time to write your questions in the chat because I have to go quickly today. I can't just hang out till 6 o'clock today. And that is true if it kind of sounds silly, but if I get through to the next level of our Prescott Sings, which is kind of like American Idol, then next Thursday will be the same thing, because every Thursday all the way through to September. Whoopsie. I don't like that at all. I have to make that look good. Let's see. So basically this is keeping me from going till 6 o'clock. I didn't paint my glasses, but you know what? They were given to me by one of my customers at a show. I have glasses, I have trifocals, but they definitely need to be adjusted. I pulled them out the other day and tried them again, and they aren't working anymore. So at shows I would forget them in the car because they're my driving glasses as well. And I think what I really need to do is stop trying to have glasses for everything and have glasses just for sewing. Maybe bifocals so I can look up and not get dizzy like I do with these glasses. But a customer was like watching me every day during a show, and all of a sudden she just came up and she goes, "Here." And she bought me these. And aren't they pretty? I love them. They're my faves. I just think they're really neat. But I am definitely the kind of person that would have painted their glasses. I painted cell phones until they became smartphones. I like my bling. Do you guys like bling? Too far away. Don't look at the needle, look where you're going because it's moving. So I want to get close, but not too close. There we go. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. And here we go. And up. It really makes a difference. I can't wait to show you. I'm not sure how well you can see on the... how much nicer the flower looks now. We also have a course inside the school on, it's called the Babbling Brook course, and it's all on the inking and the quilting process. And it's 110 hours of class for you. But look for the one that says video version, because I don't go live in that course anymore. I can't be live everywhere. So sometimes when I do a course, or that was my first course, and I'll never do it that way again. It was painful. Poor students had to wait a long time in between because I didn't have the videos pre-recorded, so. But you learn a lot in that course. I'll hold this up and then I'll probably do more pink in there. We'll see. This is the way I save myself from ruining my needles. When there's no presser foot on, there's nothing to protect the needle from you lifting it up and then pulling it toward you. So be very mindful of the needle as you pull your quilt out so that you don't scrape the tip of the needle, which I call stubbing its toe. See how cool? And before it was pretty, but you couldn't really tell where all the petals were. We are 15 minutes till over, so I'll work on, let's see, I got a purple, which I thought I scraped that needle. I'm going to work a little bit on the lily pad because it does have, this is a good thread for shadows. So I could just quilt on the rocks as well with this. Outline things with a purple is a good option. Hi, Tinkerbell. So even though I didn't go live last week, I still filmed, and I created a new video for the Octi-Hoops, and it is on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen it yet, and you have the hoops and you want to possibly get more education than you got with the hoops initially. It's also good for you if you're looking at this video and you don't have our Octi-Hoops and you're thinking about getting them, to watch the instructional video that I uploaded. It'll be in the Octi-Hoop playlist on my channel. If you didn't know that channels are broken down by playlist, think of them like little channels within your channel. The Octi-Hoops themselves are worthy of their own channel because they're capable of so many different things, including mending. Anytime you can't get a foot to get where you want it, the Octi-Hoops is something that you should consider and go, can the Octi-Hoops make it possible for me to sew? We've got bubbles. If you're interested in me quilting more of this, let me know. Could do part 2 next week if you want. You guys pretty much govern what I do on my show, for the most part. Not looking at the needle, looking where I'm going. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. Feed dogs are down, but they don't have to be. And I love how it's a little puffy. So probably not going to want to stitch too much on the lily pads. So they look like they're sitting on top of the water. We don't flatten them out and make them look like they're below the water. Be a great opportunity to use a darker gray and build upon the shadows. And remember, this is going to be wall art, so I don't have to tie knots at the ends because it won't be stretched and the knots will not come out. So let's see. Cutting the thread. No questions? Not one question? What do you think, you guys? I would love to do one of the swirls for you, but I don't have the thread handy that I'm going to use. I think I'm going to end because it's 10 minutes till the time that I said that I was going to end for today. So the Deco Bob thread it comes in pre-wound bobbins like you see here with a whole group, but you can also get them one box of each color. So if you're going to work on a big king size quilt and you want to make sure you have the same color bobbin all the way through, well, you can get one box of 12 bobbins pre-wound of that one color and not worry about running out and not have to take the time to wind a bobbin. Now, think about how much thread goes on a bobbin, and that also means it's going to take that much longer to wind your bobbin. So you might get a little impatient while winding your bobbin. Hi, Cynthia. You were hiding in the background, or did you just join us? I'm going to end early today, earlier than usual. Wish me luck on singing today. And I do sing on a regular basis in karaoke. Not regular, but I enjoy it. I come from a singing family. My grandmother was a vaudeville dancer, and she also sang. And there goes something else. I keep dropping things. So our whole family sings, and my sister Kathy, who used to do shows for me, is now a karaoke DJ. And she has karaoke in her house too. And all of my nieces sing, and my children. And it's something that we do. Something we've always done. We used to gather around the piano. So, fun. This is the first summer that, outside of COVID year, that I've been home and not traveling and doing shows. So I'm feeling like being more connected with my community. And I know that some of you are upset that I'm not doing shows, but I committed to myself to not do any in 2021. So I won't be at any of them this year. And I'm leaning toward not doing shows anymore as it is, especially the way that I was doing it, just sitting in a booth. Instead, teaching courses, having you guys come and or go into a hotel, and we all are I'm there teaching you, and you have your tush in the seat instead of me sitting there and you just watching. It's going to be you actually hands-on and me being able to walk around and help you, as you guys do really well in that kind of environment. And I did teach for 10 years before I ever invented the creative feet. And I miss that. I miss the interaction with you guys. I did teach also 127 students, and in what state was that? Missouri. So, and that went really well with the Octi-Hoops. And so let's see. You need a video of me singing. We'll see if they do. I don't know. I can't do that. I'll be singing. We'll see. And I'm not going to put it on my YouTube channel, but I'll probably share it in the school if you guys want. So no questions on the sewing part? Oh yes, Donna T. All right. So we got new threads that came in. We got inks that came in. Half the inks did not come in. They have not said when they're going to come in, so I'm a little frustrated with that. And so I just figured, well, I'll quilt today. And so as soon as possible, those inks will be available. And then the video on how I inked this will launch, should you guys want to actually do this pattern. Inside of the VIP group inside of Create with Clare Rowley, my school, the school itself is free, but if you want to take advantage of certain things that are for pay, one of them is the VIP group, and they get extra bonuses. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this inside of the VIP and give them access to it. So if you ever join, at any time you join, you have access to all of the previous videos that are in there. And I know Lilo, you just joined again. So I'm going to be live every third Thursday. I messed up last month. All of a sudden it was the 4th week and I went, oops, I missed. So I'm not going to forget this month. And I'll send out a reminder as well. And we do that in Zoom, and then you guys talk to me. It's really kind of cool. And I have it set up to where when you're talking, the camera is locked on me sewing, so your face doesn't come up and take up the screen. You get to really enjoy the experience where you can see each other as littler screens, and then what I'm doing is big and is maintained on the screen. And we'll be doing that as well in the school. I do plan on maybe once a month doing a live with you guys in the school. First things first was getting the new website. I got her. It's kind of like fishing to catch this little one. She's got her summer haircut on. So with that, trying to think if there's anything. There's a bunch of new stuff coming. We've just been organizing and trying to fit new products into our warehouse. And I still haven't finished my table setting placemat thingy. If you didn't catch that the week before last, episode 21, because I skipped last week. So episode 21, I showed how to do the binding, the faux piping binding. And I used my technique where you don't use any hand sewing. So if you have trouble with binding, you really should watch that one. I'll pull it down again. Oops. I'll give you a close-up of the binding so you can see. She is my little cutie patootie. Oh. She's not as enthusiastic about when we go live as I am. There you go. Mommy's almost done. Isn't that beautiful? And this is all done by machine. There's no hand sewing on that binding. This is based on my quilt binding tutorial that you can find inside of my channel. And this was a 3 or 4 part series, this whole project, where you learn how to do the Dresden plate applique. This is actually pearl cotton, and I did a blanket stitch using pearl cotton. And so there's quite a lot of information in this lesson. It was a live session, so they run long generally. And then the next session was free motion quilting, where I showed you how to do these little Dresden plate quilt designs. And then I did some of the stippling, and then when I did the binding, I did more stippling, and this is the pebbles, which is just circles, and then the binding. And you can see, let's see how it looks on the back. A couple instances where I had issues, but you learn about those issues. But today's lesson was all about quilting, my inking. So I hope that you enjoyed watching and learned something, got some information from this lesson. I will be live again next week. If you have any information or any questions or any desire for me to work on any particular project, remember, I do all types of sewing, not just quilting. I can do just about anything. I was trying to do a bridal series, do some wedding veils, because June brides, and we're already in June. But I still may do a wedding veil lesson that people have asked a lot. I had, I don't know, probably over 1,000 people asked me to teach how to do this one veil that I had at a show. So I may do that next week. We'll see. You guys are the ones that kind of form the show. I can't wait to see you guys third Saturday. Those of you who are VIPs. I think I already said that. My mind's a little scattered right now. So no questions. Thank you for watching. And I will, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do so now. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And once you leave the live chat, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button afterward, that's different than doing thumbs up inside the live chat. And YouTube thinks you guys like us if you do that. And then they spread us around, and we'll have more people joining the school and more activities. And with that, I will bid you adieu. I love you guys. See you next week. Mwah. Bye.